Something I've been like quite fascinated by is Russian's economy. I've not seen anyone on YouTube explain well what's going on there. Why is everyone excited about what's going on, you know? And I think I can give an explanation that's like a little bit more detailed on what's going on. So we're talking about Russian inflation and especially the labor part of it. And I think we first should start with the different kinds of inflation. Okay, so suppose you have this base economy, which has like, 4 currency units. So like, 4 rubles. This is your entire economy, 4 rubles. And then we are producing 2 goods. So 2 things. Suppose it's like essentials or whatever. If you do money printing, what happens is that you just increase the supply of money. So there's like more currency units chasing these same amount of goods. So this is like one kind of inflation because you have now 3 units for every good. Everything will cost 3 instead of 2. So, prices are going up. And then the other thing that can happen is shortages. And I think that Russia is currently seeing these shortages kind of inflation. Still, like, this is the explanations I saw on like the internet of various YouTube videos, and this is too abstract for me. I don't get it. Like, why would prices go up just because you have less of something, right? I mean, yeah, like we need to go through this step by step, I think, and focus on the Russian example specifically. Long ago, we had this farmer named Ivan, who lived in harmony with his farm, producing food for a village. And with help of his aides, Boris and Dmitry, he produced 2 goods. So Ivan went to market and sold his 2 units of food on the market for 4 rubles. Enough to sustain them all. He gave like 1 ruble to Dmitry, another one to Boris, and everyone was happy. But then everything changes. The Russian nation attacks. So here we have the military, and the military needs people, right? They are now using money to entice people to join the army. So what they're doing, instead of having a living wage of 1 ruble, they will give everyone 2 rubles. And this is like drawing people from Russian society to the military because, people like to have money to do more stuff. So they are offering higher salaries. So what will happen on Ivan's farm? He will have 1 fewer worker, so he can only produce 1 good. He is actually having a big problem because he can only pay 1 unit of ruble to his worker Dmitry, because if he pays 2, then he doesn't have any rubles for himself. This is a big problem for him. And all because the military decided to hire people from society for these high wages. So Ivan has to compete. Fortunately, he's producing food. Everyone has to buy food, so he can just raise the prices, right? All the farmers have to do this at the same time, so they're all like collectively just incentivized to raise prices. And now he has again 4 rubles. And he can pay Dmitry 2 rubles, making sure that Dmitry gets the same amount of money as the military has, and he has again 2 rubles for himself. Now let's move on what effect this has on Olga the waiter. We have to look at some other people in society because this also has an impact. In the previous situation, before Ivan raised prices, the waiter Olga was just like getting along, being able to buy 2 on her wage of 4. On her wage of 4, she could like buy food, and she could go to the restaurant once, and she could go to the movies. So there's like all these things she could do. This was her budget essentially. Now with the new situation where Ivan raised the prices of food, she has to buy food. Like if she doesn't buy food, then she's gonna die. So people will prioritize the stuff that's essential to them, and usually that's food. The restaurant will get less money, and the movies will get less money because people have to buy what they need. And for Olga specifically, it's probably going to mean she's also going to ask for a higher wage from her employers because, well, there are other higher wages available, right? Yeah, so she will demand a higher wage. So actually, you can see that this is a big problem for restaurants because, first of all, like they get deprioritized by customers, and second of all, suddenly all the employees are like asking higher wages. Certain sectors get deprioritized. And this is in fact what people are talking about when they say Russia is moving into a war economy. Certain businesses are just like kind of naturally selected by people to not go to anymore because they don't have enough money available. And that's because of shortages. Like the system does this, right? Like the people in the system make the rational choice. Like, okay, I have to live, so I'll prioritize food first. That's just the market working. Which is all caused by the military offering these higher wages to attract people. So we got shortages because the military needs people. Okay, so now moving on. The war is continuing, right? We're now, in the second stage. Another day has passed. But suppose that Boris got killed. What's going to happen? When we go back to this picture, the military has to recruit people. However, Boris is now unfortunately dead. The market has adjusted, so everyone has raised prices for the workers. They have to raise prices again, so they have to pay more, even more, to attract more workers. And Ivan, fortunately, he's a food producer, so people will pay. So he will preempt this by raising prices. He will expect prices to go up. This inflation expectation going on. Before Ivan loses his other worker and has to find another one, Ivan will predict that Dimitri will probably consider joining the military. Therefore, he will just raise the price of food so he gets more income, so he can pay his worker more, preventing him to leave. And again, this is coordinated in the entire society. All the food producers will think similarly. So yes, people are predicting and they are adapting to the system, and inflation expectations are going up. Therefore, this causes a sort of acceleration in inflation. Okay, so how does Russia answer this? They've been consistently increasing interest rates. So interest rates are currently at 21% at Russia's central bank, which is really, really high. It will stop any private investment. So if you're rich people and you want to build a new house block and you're looking at the numbers, it will cost 2 million. You have maybe 1 million on your bank account. You will have to borrow 1 million. You're looking at having to pay 200,000 a year to do this. You start to think to yourself no, this is probably not feasible. Any kind of growth investments is usually just stopped dead in its tracks by these high interest rates. However, if you're in a growth industry, if you're an arms producer, you're probably just gonna do it anyway because you know that you can make outsized profits because the war will keep going. I saw some video of someone complaining about it from the Department of Defense, but they were just being greedy. They didn't want to pay. But they were gonna do it anyway. So will this actually help the Russian economy? Yeah, it will. It will temporarily free up resources, right? These new housing blocks will no longer be built. There will be less opening of stores. There will be just less economic activity going on due to borrowing. So that's all hyper growth kind of stuff is just stopped dead in its track. So that will temporarily work. But the underlying problem is not solved, right? The underlying problem is the war. If Boris dies, then the military needs more people and the problem becomes worse regardless of interest rate. Interest rates won't solve the problem. So the inflation is caused by shortages, and inflation expectations is increasing this. And in fact, this is just a disaster. It's just gonna get worse from here on out, right? Every day people are being lost in the war, they get wounded. Even if you lose an arm, right, you cannot farm as quickly if you have a fewer arm. So, even wounded people are a problem. They don't produce as much. Yeah, it's only gonna get worse for Russia, unfortunately. Anyway, that was the video. Please leave a like if you liked the video. And actually leave a comment if you want to see more of this stuff. I found it fascinating, to be honest, to study this and think about it. I'm really happy I worked it out.